Welcome to the 700 Club. Israel has uncovered even more evidence of UNRWA's complicity with terror groups in Gaza. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says the UN agency is totally infiltrated with Hamas and must be replaced.
Well, Secretary of State Antony Blinken is heading back to the region as the U.S. continues to push for a Palestinian state. CBN Middle East correspondent Julie Stahl reports.
Israeli soldiers in Khan Yunis discovered weapons hidden inside bags belonging to UNRWA as they destroyed an Islamic Jihad workshop for building weapons. Inside the bags were Kalashnikov rifles and hand grenades. This discovery adding more evidence of UNRWA's relationship with terror groups. A number of countries temporarily stopped aid to the organization after Israel presented evidence that some 1,200 UNRWA workers are affiliated with terror groups in Gaza and that 12 UNRWA workers participated in the Hamas massacre on October 7th.
UNRWA is totally infiltrated with Hamas. It has been in the service of Hamas, in its schools, and in many other things.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu met with a delegation of UN ambassadors who came to see for themselves the evidence of the attack on Israel.
I say this with great regret because we hope that there would be an objective and constructive body to offer aid. We need such a body today in Gaza. The UNRWA is not that body. It has to be replaced by some organization or organizations that will do that job.
Meanwhile, the U.S. is keeping up the push for a Palestinian state as a solution to the conflict ahead of Secretary of State Blinken's visit to Israel this week.
We are actively pursuing the establishment of an independent Palestinian state with real security guarantees for Israel, because we do believe that is the best way to bring about lasting peace and security for Israel, for Palestinians, and for the region.
That principle was enshrined in the Oslo Accords between Israel and the Palestine Liberation Organization 30 years ago, but it's a non-starter for Israel today. Legal analyst Maurice Hirsch says the accords never had a chance because the Palestinians didn't consider them peace agreements.
The PLO never gave up on what it said was its 10-point plan. This was a plan that it adopted already in the 1970s that says we will take any territory given to us and then use that territory as a basis to continue attacking Israel and to bring about its ultimate demise.
Meanwhile, National Security Council spokesman John Kirby told the Jewish Federation that hostage negotiations are going in the right direction as both sides consider a proposal for an extended ceasefire and phased return of the hostages. Julie Stahl, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Let me add yet another history lesson to this piece, and that is what happened in 2004. So this is under the Bush administration. Great hope that if Israel would withdraw from Gaza, Israel had invaded, had taken over because of the number of terror attacks coming out of Gaza. So Israel agreed to give up and completely withdraw. In addition, they evacuated every Jewish person in Gaza. About 8,000 people had to leave their homes, their businesses. They had to leave. In the aftermath of that, the Bush administration thought, well, we'll have free and open elections, and an Arab Spring will burst forth, and the Palestinian people will want peace, and they'll want to dwell in peace with Israel after Israel has done such a wonderful thing of withdrawing and giving over to them their land. What did the people of Gaza do? They elected Hamas. We have to keep these lessons in mind. Until the ideology changes, all we're doing is throwing money at a problem that continues to use that money as fuel for more terror attacks. Please understand this. This isn't something brand new. It's been going on for 75 years. How long does the international community have some kind of responsibility for paying for refugees? They're no longer refugees. They're being put into these refugee camps as a prop. They're being manipulated by their own leaders. They could have had a hope. They could have had a future. They could have had a life. All of the money spent in Gaza could have been put into water systems, into power systems, into things that would make their people happy, that would provide progress and prosperity for everyone in Gaza. What did they do with it? Well, they built rockets and tunnels and thought of ways to kill Jews. We should never fund that. And until the ideology changes, people in Gaza shouldn't come with their hand out to anybody. The humanitarian crisis there is completely their own making. In other news, Texas is in a standoff with the Biden administration over its border policies. And now some Americans are heading south to show their support for the Lone Star State. John Jessup has that story and more from our CBN News Bureau in Washington. John?
Thanks, Gordon. A convoy of truckers is demanding a change in policy. They argue the government is making it harder for states like Texas to protect its border while making it easier for migrants headed for the United States. CBN contributor Chuck Holton reports from Texas.
The UN is under scrutiny for providing financial support to migrants who travel across Central America to the U.S. border. According to the Center for Immigration Studies, this could add up to more than $1 billion, much of it courtesy of the American taxpayer.
So the United Nations for 2024 envisions spending $1.6 billion, a lot of it U.S. tax funded, on the migration trails to help about 3 million immigrants, many of whom they know to be traveling to the U.S. border to cross illegally, and who are also crossing illegally lots of countries between where they are and the U.S. border. This money will take the form of cash debit cards, $370 million in just cash debit cards, cash-filled envelopes, and cash vouchers that they can use for anything and everything that they need along the way. Well, this is a big help. A lot of these people that are recipients and beneficiaries of this kind of largesse might have stayed home were it not for the guarantee.
Here in Eagle Pass, Texas, you can see Shelby Park back there behind me, and you can see the National Guardsman there with his Humvee, and they're setting up razor wire all along this side of the border to keep out the flow of migrants from the south. And this is kind of a perfect storm coming to pass right here, because you've got the National Guardsman and the Border Patrol that are at odds, and there's a caravan of migrants coming up from the south and a caravan of truckers and patriots coming from the north. But that caravan of truckers wants people to understand that they're not coming to do any kind of violence or blockade the border or interfere with law enforcement. They're really just coming here to pray.
So this whole thing started off as a pastor from North Texas wanting to set up a tent revival on the border. He got a word that he needed to do that. I said, I'll help you out. I'm on the border all the time. They want us to show that the Constitution is not being upheld, something that results in second, third order effects, human trafficking, fentanyl. I call it a chemical warfare coming across the border, children being used and abused and sometimes killed in that process.
Chambers maintains the convoy represents a widespread American frustration with the government's handling of border security and the belief that America is still worth saving.
We just don't live in the spirit of fear in Texas, number one. And there is an American character that exists in this country that we fought for to continue to uphold the U.S. Constitution.
Chuck Holton, CBN News, Dripping Springs, Texas.
And here in Washington, CEOs from social media companies popular with teens face tough questions from senators. Wednesday's explosive hearing focused on sexual exploitation of kids through social media and whether companies make protecting themselves a priority over protecting kids. As CBN Capitol Hill correspondent Matt Galka reports, it resulted in an astounding apology to parents.
The issue over protecting minors online is truly bipartisan, as the social media CEOs face tough questions from both sides of the aisle.
I was sexually exploited on Facebook.
I was sexually exploited on Instagram.
I was sexually exploited on X.
This is my daughter, Olivia.
This is our son, Matthew.
Look at how beautiful Miriam is.
My son, Riley, died from suicide after being sexually exploited on Facebook.
Family members held up pictures as the big tech CEOs heard members of Congress accusing them that their social media products severely harmed and in some cases led to the deaths of children.
Mr. Zuckerberg, you and the companies before us, I know you don't mean it to be so, but you have blood on your hands. You have a product you have a product that's killing people.
The focus of the grilling, social media content containing sexual exploitation of children across various platforms. The hearing also veered into how those apps police, or in many cases, don't police content that could cause a child to harm themselves.
We deploy a wide array of techniques that work across every surface on on Discord. I mentioned we recently launched something called Teen Safety Assist, which works everywhere, and it's on by default for teen users. That kind of acts like a buddy that lets them know if they are in a situation or talking with someone that may be inappropriate, so they can report that to us and block that user.
Mr. Citron, if that were working, we wouldn't be here today.
Your platforms really suck at policing themselves.
And in maybe the most memorable moment of the hearing, Missouri Senator Josh Hawley put Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg on the spot, compelling him to face the families in the audience.
Senator, our job and what we take seriously is making sure that we build industry-leading tools to find harmful content,
make money,
take it off the services,
to make money,
and to build tools that empower parents.
So you didn't take any action. You didn't take any action. You didn't fire anybody. You haven't compensated a single victim. Let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. There's families of victims here today. Have you apologized to the victims? Would you like to do so now?
Well,
they're here. You're on national television. Would you like now to apologize to the victims who have been harmed by your product? Show them the pictures. Would you like to apologize for what you've done to these good people?
There are multiple bills out there aimed at curbing what's called CSAM, or child sexual abuse material, with some of them centered around litigation. The Stop CSAM Act would allow victims to sue the social media companies, and the SHIELD Act would allow the DOJ to more easily go after people online who share the explicit material. Both the CEOs of Snap and X said they would support the SHIELD Act. Matt Gelka, CBN News.
Thanks, Matt. Gordon, whether you're Republican or Democrat, it's clear something needs to be done to protect kids on social media.
And something needs to be done to protect all of us, especially children, and that should be an absolute. But, you know, it's frankly easy on a technical basis to say, oh, you have to prove that you're an adult. And so, you know, why not have that in place? I think you'd hear an uproar from every junior high school in the nation because the fundamental problem is this product is addictive. And that's why I say we need to protect all of us. These things are intentionally created so that you spend a lot of time on them. And it keeps drawing you back. And they've had psychologists, they've had sociologists figure us out, and we're now their product. And the big thing that they're selling is the data that you and I freely give to the platform so that they can advertise goods and services back to us, and that's how they make their money. They're making their money off of you. You're the product, and you're what they're selling. When you apply that to a teenager, to someone in grammar school, it's absolutely horrific. And should there be laws? Absolutely. It's to our shame that Europe has better data protection than the United States. It's to our shame that China has better data protection than we do. The law frameworks are already out there. I think the fundamental problem is the Democrats and Republicans can't get together on how to protect us. I hope this hearing really energizes them to say there is an absolute crisis here, and we have to do something, and we have to do it now.